Okay, let's look at some of the ways to go from being just a normal worker in a company to taking that leap into becoming somebody who's in charge, somebody who now is a manager and is required to manage people. Step one, avoid micromanagement. What this basically means is don't try to micromanage every single detail that your staff have to do. So if you give someone the task of doing something, taking care of something, let them have the authority to be able to make decisions for themselves, to be able to make mistakes if necessary, and to learn from those mistakes. Now, by all means, you can go, you can see what they're doing, if they're doing it in the right way or if they're doing it in the wrong way, give feedback. Do this maybe initially quite a lot, but after some time, give them the freedom to carry out the tasks by themselves, and only really check up on them every so often, just to make sure that things are running exactly how you want them to run. But avoid having to micromanage every single little detail, because it's going to make your life very, very difficult, and it's not an effective and productive way to be in a managerial position. Step two, delegate. This is probably one mistake that a lot of managers make, is the fact that they don't seem to delegate enough of the work to their staff, and would rather take on more and more responsibility, more and more work, put more and more pressure on themselves, rather than just delegating certain tasks which other employees are perfectly capable of doing. And this is probably because they're afraid that this employee is not going to do it exactly the same way as them, or they're going to make a mistake, or they just they're not going to do it in the right way. But you have to overcome that limiting belief, and you have to just say, I can't do everything myself. I have to just delegate this work to someone else. I'm going to train them as much as I can. I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to just put them in at the deep end where they don't know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, I need to trust them to be able to carry out their work without me having to do it for them. So delegation is a very, very important part of becoming a good manager and an effective manager. Step three, know your boundaries. Whereas before, maybe you were friendly with your staff, you were joking around, you were gossiping, you were talking about people, that has to stop now. You are now in charge of a group of people, and there has to be certain boundaries that can't be crossed. It's very difficult to be the friend, to be the guy who jokes around with the staff, and to be the boss at the same time. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be completely isolated from your staff. You can still interact with them, you can still joke around every now and then, you can still be friendly, obviously, you have to be friendly. But you should understand that being in a managerial position means that there are certain boundaries now you can't cross. So, for example, let's take an example of a man who's in charge of a female colleague. If the man starts to show certain interest in the woman, this can later lead to her getting uncomfortable, her making a complaint, her talking to other members of staff about what he's doing, and that's not going to be in his favor, and it's going to raise certain questions, and it's going to put his job in an awkward position. So know your boundaries, and you don't cross them, and you'll find that your staff will have a lot more respect for you. Step four, don't gossip about others. Well, this is obviously self-explanatory. Don't talk about other people in front of other people. Don't gossip about your other staff in front of their their friends that they work with, because this just shows your workers that you're a person that likes to gossip, and you don't have that respect where you shouldn't be talking about your own people. So they might think, well, okay, if he's talking about this person in front of me, what's to stop him from talking about me in front of them? So try to just rise above the gossiping, and just remain professional. Step 5: ask a lot of questions, get feedback. Don't be afraid to walk up to your staff and ask how their day's going, what they're up to, what's going on, how they're finding a certain part of the job, what they think. Could it be made easier? Could it is something that's causing them problems? Is it too difficult? What do they think about certain other members of staff? Do they find your managerial style suitable for what they need to do? Ask questions. You are there to learn as much as possible in those first few months about how you're doing, how they're doing, where things need to go, how things need to improve. So certainly don't sit there in silence. The more you talk, the more feedback you get, the more you're going to be able to use that feedback for the better, to improve your situation. Step 6: earn your respect. Now, a lot of people assume that, okay, once they are in a managerial position, that respect should be automatically given. To a certain extent, this is very, very true, but respect has to be earned through demonstration of hard work, dedication to the job, of a manager who cares about his staff, who cares about his job, and who wants to do well. It doesn't mean obviously staff, if you don't earn the respect, staff should not give you any respect. Certainly at the beginning they should have that certain level of respect for you because you are now in a position of authority. At the same time, you should work your hardest to be able to earn that respect from them, which means not being afraid to carry out certain tasks, to jump in there and show them how things should be done, training your people, developing them, listening to their problems, all these things. So I hope this video has been useful to you. If you liked what you heard and you found it useful, there is a link at the bottom of the video which takes you to a website. There's an ebook there, which is very, very helpful for new managers who are starting out in a managerial role, and it discusses a lot of things about mindsets, beliefs, how to talk to your people, addressing difficult employees, which is a huge issue for a lot of managers. And one of the major complaints of new managers is the difficulty in dealing with some staff, and that is addressed in a big way in the book. So click on the link below, take a look at the book, and good luck.